Oh, it's confirmed? Yeah, I saw that. Yep, I followed it a little, kind of closely last couple of days.
Well, I was out working all day yesterday. And I got home last night at 6 o'clock and I turned on the TV and I'm like, what the hell happened? I didn't know. Oh, this is the locksmith. Let me just make an appointment.
We're going to start class at 10:30 on Monday because I'm going to be tired.
Make 11.
Okay, so now we're at the top of page 3, I think. Now, this is where you all get really, 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 really confused. Section 8. This is the gross commission. This is the total commission that the seller has agreed to pay. So if it's 8, on line 109, you're going to put 8. If it's 7, you're going to put 7. If it's 6, you're going to put 6. This is the gross. Nobody ever remembers when they fill out a listing. All right. So 109 is the gross commission. 112 is if you do an option. That's always going to be 0 because we don't do options. Then we're going to go down to line 115. This is the gross lease that you would charge. And we're not going to do that. So that'll be 0. So 109, 112, and 115 will be 0. The only thing you have to worry about filling in on this whole thing is line 109, your gross commission. Yay! Okay, now we got to read this 118 because everybody thinks they can sue the seller to get paid. You know that word sue? We're going to take that and throw that out the window. We're done with the sue word. Your contracts, be it listing or sales, are not written up to sue people. Our only job is to market a property and get it closed. And if the buyer walks, we're going to give them their escrow and we're going to get it back active ASAP and get another contract. We're not going to padoodle around with trying to sue people over $1,000. Right? Okay. So 118 says broker's fee is due in the following circumstances. If any interest in the property is transferred, whether by sale, lease, exchange, governmental action, bankruptcy, or any other means to transfer, regardless of whether the buyer is secured by the seller. Now remember we learned this on page 1. When you have a listing and there's a sign out there and the seller calls you up on Sunday night and he says, hey, Jer, come and take my sign down. I sold my house last night. He still has to pay you. You understand that, right? As long as you have a legal listing signed with specific dates, Real Estate Champions is going to get paid. That's all we care about. Okay? If the seller refuses or fails to sign an offer at the price and terms stated in this agreement, defaults on an executed sales contract, or agrees with the buyer to cancel within blank days, that's your protection period. How many days do you put in there? Well, everybody says 180. You can put in 180 days, but how are you going to monitor that? If my listing expires and the seller doesn't like me anymore and they're going to list with someone else, what am I going to do? Look every day to see if one of the buyers I showed went to that house? How are you going to know? And then everyone says, well, I worked with that buyer for 4 months. They're my buyer. No, we don't have a tattoo on a buyer's butt. There's no loyalty. So, the only way you can go to the board of realtors and file a grievance, and we're not going to do this, it's like kangaroo court, is if you have documented on a piece of paper or you have documented in an electronic device every time you spoke to those buyers, everything you did with that buyer, every property you showed that buyer, and we don't do that. The only way of procuring cause is who writes the contract. So, Jeremy has an open house Sunday, and Monday some buyer calls me up. And they say, we went to the open house on Sunday, we want to write an offer. You know what I'm going to say? Gee, that's great. Call Jeremy. We don't screw each other. The problem is we live in such a nasty society that people will screw each other in a heartbeat. And when somebody calls on one of my listings, if it's a buyer, I say to them, did you go to my open house? Did you meet Jeremy? No. I go, okay. Now, if another realtor writes an offer after a buyer came to one of Jeremy's open houses, I can't do anything about that because that buyer chose to leave after Jeremy did his job and contact their daughter-in-law, their sister-in-law, their son's new fiance. We know how this goes. It's like there's no loyalty in nail salons. There's no loyalty in hair salons. There's no loyalty in real estate. When I finally got up enough courage to go back to my nail salon, the girl said, we thought you went somewhere else. I said, I would never go somewhere else. I'm loyal. I just was too scared to come in here and have you do my nails. But the three of us are probably a rare breed. You know, we're the only ones that have loyalty. But most of the people out there don't. So don't get all crazy and say, she stole my buyer. The buyer was not loyal, and the buyer dumped you. And what are you going to do? I'm not going to try to win them back. Right thing, I hope. I mean, you have to be cautious and you have to be smart. And you have to interrogate people with appropriate buyer questions. But you can't make them be loyal. No. We'll disclose all known, not readily going to fix it. You have to take this back to him and he has to disclose. When you get a listing, you never look at this again. Let's say the garbage disposal breaks and the seller says, I'm not fixing it. Fine. Then you get yourself over there and on this last page you put garbage disposal being sold as is. Seller not making any repairs or replacement. This is on the back page of disclosures, Jeremy, honey. Okay, we're rocking today. I'm sorry, what, hon?
I can find the disclosure forms. I know. Did you give them all out?
I'm sorry, what?
The disclosure forms.
Well, they're in all of your listing packages. One says residential and one says condo. If you're listing a single family house, you use residential. If it's a condo, it says condo at the top, babe. Okay. Dispute resolution. I'm not even going to read this. If you think that a seller wants to withdraw his listing or you think that a buyer wants to withdraw their contract, what are you going to do?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
If you think a seller wants to withdraw their listing or a buyer wants to cancel their contract, what are you going to do?
Well, for the seller, he is under contract with us, but
you are not going to say a word. You are going to go to Ruth.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like, I don't think I'd do a damn thing.
No.
Go to Ruth. If you try to fix it, it's not going to work. You know how we need to turn things over to a third party? You know how when you're mad at one of your vendors and you say, I need to speak to the, what do we say?
Manager.
Supervisor, manager, something. Everybody wants to huff and puff. So, we're not going to do that. Go see Ruth. And when you go see her, don't say, my seller, I really like them. I feel sorry for them. they have special needs. Blah, 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 blah. No, when you go to Ruth, you take that file and you speak seller, buyer, no name, no you love them, and explain the facts, Jack, so that Ruth can get on the phone and tie a knot in their tail. Because when Ruth explains to them their obligations and how this is going to go, they get it. But this is like children. They don't want to listen to the parents because the parents don't know anything. They're old. So when my customers are disgruntled, I call Ruth and I go, Ruth, call this grouchy old man. And she does. And then I'll wait for her to call me back, and it's so funny. She goes, he is the nicest person. I go, he is not nice. He's a nasty old curmudgeon. She goes, oh, Debbie, I got him all fixed up. You know, we have to learn to pass the baton to someone else. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that you failed. It's just that, unfortunately, realtors establish emotional relationships with buyers and sellers when we shouldn't. They are customers. I don't care if they broke a nail. I don't care if their cat died. You know, we are in a business transaction. And it's very hard for us to social distance in that 6-foot transaction, okay? Are we still social distancing? I don't know. What's the rules today?
Still 6 feet. We actually in violation right now.
Yeah. Well,
It's probably going to get worse now that.
Okay.
do
You
you know if they're gonna do that mandate on the 20th? Has anyone heard anything about that?
I don't know what the mandate is, babe.
Well, they said that Joe Biden said when he took over on January 20th, he was gonna mandate. Well, this is gonna have to do with what we do.
Right.
Okay.
The 100 days of a 100-day mask mandate. And I wasn't sure if that was going to affect open houses or what we do.
We're supposed to be wearing masks at open houses.
Well, we do. But I mean, if the National Association of Realtors decides, well, maybe we don't need open houses for this 100 days, or we don't need to do this. Like, have they said anything about?
Well, I don't
that
think
stuff?
NAR can say anything until Mr. Biden decides what he's doing.
Right. Well, you hear people saying we're going to do this all the time, so I wasn't sure if they were giving anyone a heads up about anything that was going to happen.
No, and not this coming Tuesday, but I would say in a few weeks, once our society calms down, if that's possible, and Mr. Biden takes office and see what he says. But there would be nothing in NAR at this point because we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we're still supposed to get the COVID form signed. Jeremy's still supposed to do everything we did June 1st.
Yeah, I haven't been doing that.
I know.
I hate to say
I
it,
know.
but I haven't done the COVID form in 3 months probably.
But when I'm with people, I wear a mask.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. This agreement is binding on the sellers and brokers, heirs, personal representatives, administrators, successors, and assigns. Broker may assign this agreement to another listing office. Let's say that somebody wants to fire me and they hate Century 21. And I say, Ruth, my friend Mary Butler at Realty whatever she works at now will take over these people and she'll pay us a 25% referral fee. It's the same thing in the office. If one of my customers gets angry at me and they tell Ruth that they don't want me anymore, Ruth will give it to one of you guys and then you will pay me a referral fee. And here's the thing that I want you just to keep in mind. If a buyer isn't happy and a seller isn't happy, nobody's happy. And it's not going to close. So, take off your boxing gloves, lick your wounds, put your pride aside, and move on. I have been dumped so many times. And sometimes when my customers are upset with me, like not this year, but last year, I had one condo I had to extend 5 times. And every time I called the guy in Toronto, he goes, "Oh my God, what now?" And I said, "Hey, Mike, do you want to dump me?" He goes, "Why do I want to dump you?" I said, "Okay, then you still want me to market the sale of your home?" And he said, "Yes." Sometimes they say, "Yes, I want to dump you." It's not my fault that the buyer's lender couldn't get their act together. But at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, whose fault is it always? The realtor. Right? It's always our fault. And I am so tired of everybody leaning on me, whether it's my customers, my family, and my new word is, it's a new year and I'm not being the peanut butter. I'm not being the peanut butter that keeps the 2 pieces of bread together. We have developed into a situation of this. I hate these. Han, you don't know this, but when I retire, I'm taking this to the Skyway Bridge. And when I get to the top, I'm going to roll down the window and I'm going to throw it over. And when I retire, I will never have a cell phone again. Because all we want to do is...
They take great pictures, though.
Buy a camera.
You know, nobody can think. Every time something happens, instead of going outside and going, we got to call somebody. When 100% of the time, if we took a breath or 2, we would be able to figure it out, right? But we've developed into a society where everybody has to call everybody. Kids that are 40 that are calling their parents every 5 seconds.
God.
Parents that are calling their kid every 5 seconds. But I think they have to vent. You know, my mother calls, "I just want to let you know, Mrs. Kennedy died." Well, she was 92. Okay, Mom, I'm sorry. But, you know, my mother has to have somebody to tell all this stuff to. Okay, let's go to page 4. Look at this. We can knock this out, kiddos. Okay. When you have a seller or sellers that sign this 4-page listing contract, it is a total entire agreement between the seller and the brokerage, not you. Please remember, this is not your listing. This belongs to Century 21 Real Estate Champions. No prior or present agreements or representations will be binding on the seller or the broker unless it's in this agreement. Be careful what you say. Loose lips sink the ships. I don't want you to tell me the seller said that at closing, they're going to give the buyer $5,000 if the buyer buys it as is. No side deals. And when you start going to closings, and you have those buyers and sellers sitting at the conference table, all chummy rummy, you know, big puffy, and I hear them say, "Yeah, Merle, here's your money," and wads of hundos are coming out from under the table. I have to tell them to stop and get outside immediately. Really, if I saw that, I should stop the loan. That's fraud. Nobody can do nothing that is not in that mortgage or note. Even, think about this, kids, even if it's a cash transaction, The only thing that is being notarized at that closing table is what? What was written in the paperwork that we know. And there is no attorney, no title company, no closer that is going to notarize papers when there's $100 bills flying across the table. Tell them to take that outside immediately. I have been in closings where buyer and sellers got all full of themselves, and the title girl got up and she ran out of the door and she said, "You get out here now, Deborah." Because she can't notarize, hon. The only thing she can notarize is what, sweetie? What's in writing. Okay, be careful. All right. Electronic signatures are acceptable and will be binding. This is what I don't understand. I don't get this at all. We all send customers a Authentisign. Oh, you love that. It takes you 12 hours, sometimes 36, to get it done when I could have went to their house in 10 minutes. But you all think that you're losers if you don't electronically sign. But you're sending this stuff to people and they are electronically signing, but they have not read it. They are clueless in Seattle. Right, Jer?
The one I did for Rose, I did it through a Authentisign because I was out of town. They read everything. Brooke called me and went through, she had probably 30 questions. I mean, she was on top of it.
Oh, she was the buyer,
The
bro.
buyer, yeah.
Well, and this is what I say to you. Yes, for the love of God, I don't want you to go out of this room and say, Debbie Sundell said we can't Authentisign. I want you to, but you have to tell your people when they receive that Authentisign message and they're going to open it up on some kind of electronic device, they are to call you. And you are to sit in front of the electronic device and go through each page with them. And how do we know they're finding the yellow boxes? Because I don't know if y'all know this. Excuse me, but at the top of the Authentisign, it says 84% of 100, 86% of 100. And the one lady, Jarrett Timberwoods, last week or the week before, she said, I'm done. Well, we know a turkey is done. She was supposed to be finished. I said, Pam, at the top, what does the percentage say? She said 84% of 100. I said, Pam, you're not finished. Yes, I am. I clicked every yellow box. Well, she didn't if it says 84%, right? So I said, okay, Pam, let's just go back to page 1. And let's go through every page again. Well, I don't know what page she had missed several initials on, but I called her out, right? And then all of a sudden she said, oh, I'm at 100% now. I said, great job. Please click accept, right? Nothing happens till they accept it and it comes back to me to review. So you have to be very familiar with the process that your people are receiving. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
We're so conflept about getting it done. Next. Invite sent. Time for a 6-pack.
I'm ready for a 6-pack.
Me too. But that's not how this works. We have been taught to believe that because we are doing it electronically, the person that we are sending it to is reading it. They're not. A couple years ago, my friend Mary Ball's son was buying a house. And I know he did this in his car at a traffic light because from the time I sent it until it came back for me to review was not a minute. Not a damn minute. So I called up the little rascal. I said, hey, Frankie, you didn't read a word of that. He goes, no, I didn't. I said, I'm going to let this fly because your mom owns a title company. You bought and sold many pieces of real estate. I said, I'm going to review it and get back to you. He did it at the traffic light at Park and Starkey trying to get into Wawa. I said, I know you did. You know, when it comes back to you that quick, they didn't read it. Now, if it's one page, if it's an addenda or something, okay, I'm not going to call them out on that. But when you are trying to get them to sign listing papers, especially the disclosure, and you know on the disclosures, your ink pen cannot touch this. It has to be filled out by the sellers, okay? All right, you got to watch these guys. Also, people can fax, and that's acceptable. Just in case you have some old people like me. And all that will be considered originals. The term buyer, as used in this agreement, includes buyers, tenants, exchangers, optionees, and other categories of potential or actual transfers. And then you're going to go down to additional terms. Whatever additional terms that you have agreed upon with the seller. Now, if the seller says, I go on a listing today or tomorrow, and he signs the papers today or tomorrow. Today's the 7th, right? Tomorrow's the 8th? Yeah.
Yep.
But he doesn't want it to go live till Monday because Saturday night he's having a Bucks playoff game party and Sunday he's having a Steelers playoff game party.
Nice.
And he wants to have
Talk
time.
about you.
Yeah. He wants to have time to plant the geraniums and get the poinsettias out and all that jazz. That's okay, right? But you know there's a form for that. And you know what that form looks like in your listing package? Bear with me. And that has to be signed, and Linda has to send it to the board. So if I get a listing tonight and it's not going to go in till Monday, I have to have the seller sign this form. God bless you, babes. And Linda has to send it to Stellar. I'm so allergic to paper. You have no idea, guys. Oh, where is the form? We must have done it in another class. Ah, here's another half a ring. Bear with me. I'm into the COVID now. Ta-da! I found it. This is from Stellar. Owner's authorization to temporarily exclude the listing from the MLS.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. God, I lost my banana split. Okay. Then you have the seller's signature. Seller's home phone, work phone, fax, address, email. Why do we need all that? Because if you win the lottery and Ruth says, get down here and get Han's listing, she ain't never coming back. She won $400 billion. You have to take over her. Yeah. You have to take over her listing. I need to have all the contact information. Does that make sense? Okay, kiddos. And then we go down to authorized sales associate or broker. You know that on this, because it says sales associate, you can put your name. And then underneath that, it's the brokerage firm where you work. We work for a brokerage, which is Century 21 Real Estate Champions. The broker of record for our brokerage is Ruth Cabela. And we are the sales associate. Pretty cool, huh? Okay.
It's a mouthful.
At the mouthful. And then on 191, copy return to seller on. And now you know that Linda will email all of your papers to the seller. You don't have to make copies. You don't have to run to Office Depot. You don't have to run to Staples. Now, if they don't email, like my 90-some-year-old peeps, then Linda will make copies and mail everything to them in a big fat envelope. Also, whether it is faxed or emailed, Ruth puts a lovely letter in there to the sellers. Dear Dr. and Mrs. Brown, thank you so much for allowing Century 21 Real Estate Champions to have the opportunity to market the sale of your home. We look forward to a successful transaction. If at any time, I think I know this letter, if at any time throughout the course of the transaction you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to call me. Sincerely, Ruth Cabela, broker owner, Century 21 Real Estate Champions. So sometimes you might get a little upset because your seller called Ruth. And you go, oh, banana splits, how did that happen? Because Ruth is sending them a thank you letter from her, thanking them for trusting Century 21 Real Estate Champions. Okay.
Gotcha.
Any questions on the listing agreement? When you've got these 4 pages signed, you got a listing. But if the seller needs to plant geraniums,
And he wants to stop the process.
yeah, if the seller wants to paint the front door because the dog died 15 years ago and there's still scratches on the door, that amazes me when I go into properties and I'm outside and the door's off. And I go, oh, do you have a dog? And they go, no, he died 15 years ago. I said, oh, are you fixing to get ready to sand that and paint that? You know, you need to understand from the second you get out of your car, as you're walking into that property, this is where you start taking notes. And I know that you all have these. And you see how this is bent like this? You know why? This goes in my pocketbook. And I just purged all of these pages and I started a new one today. These are the 2 things I had to do before school. And I save this until I make sure that that information has been transferred. Do you see when I do something, it gets the big X? But when I can't X bill the locksmith at 1 because it ain't 1 yet. But when I am at a seller's house, I have this in my hand and I have the 14 MLS profile sheets so that I can see if there's a garbage disposal. I can see if there's a dishwasher. I can look at all the different flooring and make all my notes. Okay, any questions? I think we fixed Jeremy up before school with his modular home people. And Han, basically, your buyer that can't afford anything, is he going to have to go rent something?
I have no idea. I talked to him this morning and he actually answered the phone. I called him like every day for the last, since when he was here. And actually twice a day.
Aw.
He finally answered this morning and he said he's got a doctor's appointment today. And I said, you know what? His name is Calvin. I said, Calvin, I'm still here and I will help you. But the only way I can help you on your application is you need an income are you looking for a job right now? He goes, yes, I am. And he said, I realize I need a job. And I said, okay, as soon as you got one, give me a call back, and I will call you every week to see if you update. And he said, okay. So that's what we're doing right now. Every day, every week, I'm going to call him on Wednesday or whatever and see how it's going.
Honey, and you know what? That's what we do.
Yeah.
And I don't know how rapidly he will be able to get himself together because of his issues, and that's okay. But because you were kind and loving and you tried to help him, if he comes across somebody else that says real estate, he's going to say, you have to call this nice lady at Century 21. Her name is Han. She'll help you. And that is the root of our business. That is what we do. By doing and finding out information and researching, we are planting the seeds that people know that we will go the extra mile to help them. That's why Ruth and I are right here after 38 years of being in the same location. Yeah. So, anything else that you want to discuss with me today, my friends?
You covered me before we started, so.
I got you fixed up, babe. That's what I do. You know, let go of the emotion and get to the facts, Jack. I am presented on a daily basis with so many challenges from other people that I don't know the answers to. All of us have actually forgotten more than we ever knew, right? But that's where I have to turn the phone off. I have to go outside, get some fresh air.
Clear your mind.
And get my mind. And then I go, okay, where would I go to find this info? Where, you see what I'm saying? I always say to my family, I have a solution for all your problems. You're not going to like it, but it is what it is. I have a 30-year-old nephew. Oh, hon. He's a soup sandwich. He can't get out of his own way. And he's always calling me up. Aunt Deb, can you lend me 10 grand? Aunt Deb, I lent somebody my truck, they totaled it. I said, you're not 16, you know. But everything will be fixed. And what I say about this business is, it's real estate. The lady, Jeremy, that's been trying to buy 236, she's trying to get bond money. I don't know what's going on with her loan. Finally, yesterday, I said to her, Stacy, how long has this been going on? She said, since October 10th. Do you think I could remember that? I said, no wonder I can't remember. Well, she's been renting a room in a condo somewhere up in Clearwater, and she has to move out. So yesterday, she wanted me to give her the name of a hotel. I said, what do I look like, Hotels.com? I said, honey, Google it. Well, I don't know what's going on with my loan. I said, let me repeat that sentence. It's your loan. I said, the title company and I worked on this Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, the Mondays after. I said, my understanding is that because Pinellas County School District was closed down for 2 weeks, they're trying to verify your employment. And they were supposed to be back open on January 4th. Yesterday was January 6th. I said, Stacy, I think you better make some phone calls. She said, okay, I'm going to right now. This was yesterday about 10. And now it's today at 11:30, and I no hear from her. She's a grown woman. She's 56. She's getting a mortgage. It's not my mortgage. And she said, well, I called them about 3 weeks before Christmas. I'm like, okay.
They think we have all the answers.
No, and you know what? A lender's not going to talk to me.
Yeah, it's not our loan.
No,
We can't.
not my
He
loan.
can't talk to us about her loan.
Right. It's like my nephew with his credit cards. I go, not my credit card. He lived with me many years ago. And to this day, as God is my witness, I get delinquent phone calls for his credit cards. I get mail for him. The other day I got a call and I said, he has not lived here since blah, remove my number. But we all got to adult. I don't like to adult some days, but I have to. And that's what we have to do with our people. Yes, we love them. We care about them. They picked us. You know, we got the job. But be careful that you don't get too emotionally attached.
Right.
And Jeremy, like in your situation, if Wells Fargo, or Third Fed or anybody says they won't do the mortgage, okay.
Yeah.
Goodbye. There's other people out there that what? That will do the mortgage. But we can't stay mad at yesterday.
Right.
Yesterday, I know I was mad at something, but I don't know what. And, you know, you just got to let it go. Oh, I was mad at that Canadian lady, Jeremy, who's still here. You know, the one in 431 that closed on the 29th that's still living there for free?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yep. She leaves on the 12th. What's today? 7?
Yeah, 5 more days.
Oh my God, I can make it. Yeah. Okay, kids. I don't know if you're coming to Rhonda's class tomorrow. She's doing all that computer flyer jazz.
Oh, I might come to that.
I have to. I need to get more familiar with it.
Yeah. And then I don't know what I'm doing next week on Monday and Thursday, but I'll figure it out. Unless you tell me something.
Monday and Thursday.
Monday, what can we do?
While you're
Well,
thinking, Jeremy, that condo that you're going to have open Sunday, the lady died in November, but she still has homestead that will remain for another year of $561 damn dollars.
Okay.
The maintenance is $355, and everything is brand spanking new.
Awesome.